So question 14. So it's asking for the ratio of the numbers in the 10th pattern. So what I've done for the A's is, I noticed that in each pattern there's one A. In each pattern the number of B's goes up by 1. And in each pattern the number of C's goes up by 2. So following that pattern on for the 10th one, there's going to be 1 A. There will be 10 B's and 19 C's. 1 to 10 to 19. Get 1 mark for saying 1 and 10. Second mark for having 19. B, we're after an nth term, so the number of C's used in the patterns as I've done up here is 1, 3, 5, 7, so I use that to write my nth term, 2n minus 1. 1 mark for the 2n part, the second mark comes from saying the minus 1. Similar sort of thing for part 2. It says that the sequence goes up in 3 letters, then 6 letters. That will continue in the same way, 9 letters and 12 letters, that's just going to be 3n, 2 marks. Okay, number 15. I've started by looking at the scale factor between the two lengths, so 16.5 to 45. You can work that out by dividing 45 by 16.5 to give us 2.72 recurring. Now that's fine for the end scale factor, but to go between the volumes, we need to cube that scale factor to get the volume scale factor. So when you calculate it's 20.285, so on. Then it's just a case of using that number to the volume of the small one, by dividing the volume of the big one by that scale factor to get this number. To the nearest 3 significant figures we're going to cut off after the 1 to give us 2,220, 3 mark in total. Question 16, so using the stem and leaf diagram. So to calculate the range, it's going to be the biggest take away the smallest. So the biggest is the last number on the grid, which is 65, and the smallest is the first, which is 11. 65 take away 11 gives you 54, which is 1 mark. The median mark, so we're looking for the middle value. So for this one you're going to cross off from the start and the finish in pairs until you're left with 1 or 2 values left in the middle. So here we're left with the 7. Remember that goes back with the 7 that it came from. 37 is your answer, 2 marks. So your box plot for this one should look like this. So you should have the minimum and maximum values at 11 and 65, the lower quartile and upper quartile at 6 and 54, and then the median that we found from earlier on at 37, just here. So question 17, a bit trickier here. So I started with mine with a tree diagram with the information that we got. So we knew from the question that she does not study math over the weekend was 0.35. I can then work out that the probability she does study math is just 1, take away that number, so 0.65. We also know from the question that if she does not study maths and there is a test, the probability is 0.28. So the probability here times by the probability here gives us 0.28. Now I can use this to work backwards to find out what probability should go there by dividing 0.28 by 0.35, which gives us 0.8. So I can use that to fill in the values on the tree diagram now. So the probability that there is a test is 0.8. Probability that there isn't a test then has to be 0.0, 0.2. Then just a case of looking for what we want. So what's the probability that she does study maths, but there is not a test? So we're going to follow the path for does study maths but not a test, 0.65 times by 0.2, 0.13 to give you 4 marks for the answer. So your marks go as follows: 1 mark for saying 0.28 divided by 0.35, 1 mark for finding 0.65, 1 mark for finding 0.2, and 1 mark for multiplying those together to get an answer of 0.313. So question 18 is a rearranging the formula sort of question, so we're going to do that like solving equations. So first job is to get rid of this times by 4/3 pi, so we're going to divide by 4/3 pi. So we've got v on the left hand side divided by 4/3 pi is equal to r cube. Last job is just to cube root this to get rid of the cube function here. So we're going to have the cube root of v over 4/3 pi equals r. We also say that that's the same as having 3v over 4 pi cube rooted. Either of these two would get you the 3 marks. So you get a mark for dividing by 4/3 pi, you get a mark for cube rooting, and then a mark for your final answer. Now 19 is a compound interest question, so we're going to need to use a multiplier to increase it by 3.4%, so 1.034. Now just be careful with the powers here. They've already given you year 1. What we want is in the 4th year, so we're going to need to work out the 2nd, 3rd and 4th years. So we're actually going to need to just add on 3 years to this. So it's going to be 1.034 to the power of 3. Type that into your calculator, gives you this. We need to round that to 2 decimal places because it's money, so we're going to cut off after the 2nd decimal place. 33165.22. Okay, the simplify fraction question finally. So first job is to try and factorise the question that we've got here. So I've done this top and bottom just with one set of brackets to start with. On the bottom I took out x and on the top I took out 2. Now we're not quite there yet because I noticed that x squared take away 9, this is difference of 2 squareds. So the difference of 2 squares we know that we can split into 2 brackets by the square root of the first and the square root of the second, a plus in one and a minus in the other. Now because the top and bottom have both got x plus 3 in, that will cancel from top and bottom to leave us with 2x minus 3 on top and x on the bottom. So for factorising this, get you 1 mark. Factorising this into 2x plus 3x minus 3, get you another mark. And your third mark comes from cancelling x plus 3 and x plus 3 on the bottom. 3 marks altogether.